Welcome to another video by Izzy Makes It Easy. In this video, I'm going to be talking about 3 ingredients that you need to make sure that when you're implementing AI agents that are enabled or powered by the agent-to-agent protocol or the model context protocol, you are doing this in a way that will help you to build effective agents in production. That's what this video is going to be about. So I'm going to do a little bit of explanation about what the protocols are about in case you're not familiar. You have a scenario where you have a main agent, and then this agent needs to reach out to other agents to make things happen. So the protocol that we're using to collaborate between the multiple agents that are needed to make this task accomplished is the agent-to-agent protocol. Now, each of these agents have their own tools that they're using to make this happen. So the car rental agent has their own tool set and their own resources. The flight agent has their own tool set and resources, and the hotel agent has their own tool set and resources. So model context protocol focuses on enabling these agents to complete their task, whereas the agent-to-agent protocol allows you to collaborate between different agents to make the original task happen and make it complete and successful. Now we have finished explaining these 2 protocols in summary. The next thing I want to do now is to walk you through the different ingredients that we need for this model context protocol and for the agent-to-agent protocol. So the ingredients fall into 3 major categories. The first category is what databases do you need to make this happen? The second category is what infrastructure do you need to make this happen? The third category is what services do you need to enable these capabilities and these skills to happen? So that's what we're going to be walking through in this video. Now I have a repo here where you can take a look at all these slides. I have my slides powered by MARP, where I use Markdown to create the slides. So I'll put the link to this repo in the description, and you can use this to follow along as you're looking through all these different things. So let's get started with some of the things that I believe you need to make this happen. So the first one I want to cover is when you are building agents, it is very important for you to focus on these 9 things that you need. So 9 things that you need to make this happen. The first one is that you have to make sure that the user experience is right. Everything is powered by the user experience. What kind of user experience do you want to enable? The second thing is security. Whatever we do, we cannot break the trust of the server or the customers that are interacting with this application. So security is very, very important. The data quality is enabled by the data pipeline. If you put it in garbage, you're going to get garbage out. So making sure that you have high quality data through effective and efficient data pipelines is always very important. So the quality of the data is also as important as the speed in which these data sets are making it to the data stores that will be used to power the agent. So just having high quality data alone is not enough. If it takes too long, or by the time the data arrives at the database, it is no longer relevant for the task at hand. So having a good data pipeline enables you to have good data quality. The tool calling strategy is very important. This is where the MCP strategy comes in. Also, having a mechanism for you to collaborate between multiple agents to get the task done effectively is also very, very important. This is where the agent-to-agent protocol comes in. Knowing how to pick the right language model for the right scenario for your agent or multiple agents, if you have this applicable, is also very, very important. And then having the ability to remember what is going on is also very, very important. And then as we are performing this task, it is always a good idea for us to trust but verify before we send information back to the calling client. So having some kind of mechanism for you to reflect on what is about to be sent back as a response is very, very important in these multi-agent scenarios that we are implementing. So all these things are things you have to have at the back of your mind when you are building agents for production. Now, the next thing I want to cover here is the data stores. So we have, in my previous video, I talked about how the agent-to-agent protocol requires collaboration, where we can have a task and then we can end up using queuing systems, using databases, using graph data stores, and all those things to make sure that the agent is able to remember what just happened, remember the different relationships, remember certain records, certain data structures, and all those things. So databases are very, very critical when you are dealing with building effective agents in production. So I'm going to cover some categories of databases. The first one is the key value store. When agents need to remember, when they need to cache information, key value stores are very, very important. On Microsoft Azure, you have the Azure Redis cache, and you can use this to keep track of the history of transactions. So you see like how sometimes you would have to keep an array of messages between the server and the client, or the AI agent and the user that is interacting. This is very, very important to have a key value store that allows you to track all these messages using either maybe the task ID or using the context ID with A2A, or using some kind of conversation ID or identifier. So having a key value store is very, very important. When you have multiple properties that have to be searched, have to be indexed, have to be queried and filtered, it is important for us to use document stores. You may use MongoDB, you may use Cosmos DB, or any document store available for you. So document stores are the next category of databases that we need. We need search stores and vector databases when you are doing things like this. So when you're dealing with natural language, full text search, all those different things like synonyms and things like that, we need to have search stores and vector stores that will enable us to retrieve information about. So this is very important for memory, because an agent might need to have short-term transactional memory, long-term memory. So how do you identify what is only relevant for the current transaction, or what is relevant for that customer for the long term that you have to remember and use every time? When dealing with medical records, things like allergies have to be remembered for the long term, but things like maybe symptoms might need to be remembered for just the current transaction, or sometimes even a long term for the long term if that is a recurring situation. So depending on your domain, depending on your use case, you might need to have search stores and vector stores for this retrieval. Sometimes we have relationships between records and entities that you have to remember. So if you have maybe a person that is married, has children, there might be a need for us to keep track of who the person is connected to, where they work, where their children go to school, and having the ability to track all these relationship-based data sets is something that you need a graph data store for. So Neo4j or Cosmos DB is very relevant in this scenario. As you're building these agents, think about this thing. Don't just focus on the protocol and all the hype that is going on, but pay attention to what scenarios are you implementing and what databases and data stores do you need to make this happen effectively in production. We have relational stores, we have wide column stores. So relational stores are simple. You use SQL statements to store the records, retrieve the records, modify the records in any way you want. Wide column stores are used where you have a lot of sparse data sets and you want to do things based on columns. You might still need to have that to enable the MCP servers to store and to track and to provide information for the agent's context. Now, there are scenarios with MCP and A2A where you have a lot of files and binary content that needs to be stored. So this is where object stores like Azure Data Lake Store and Blob Store come in, where you need to find effective data stores to keep track of these large files, these videos, these pictures, these large PDF files and large files that are generated by the language model. So finding a mechanism to keep track of these data sets is very, very important. And that's why object stores are critical when you need to implement the model context protocol or the agent-to-agent protocol that is used to collaborate between different agents. We spoke about how in A2A, the client will communicate with the server will receive the message or the task request, put it in some kind of queuing system, a different worker will pick it up and then work on it and then update the queuing system or a different data store. You need queuing systems like Kafka, Event Hubs, and Azure Service Bus to make this happen. Now for the A2A protocol, because you have to do things based on the context ID or the client, I've seen scenarios where Azure Service Bus is the best queuing system to do that, because it allows you to be kind of atomic in how you extract the different related messages and work on them in a way that is concurrent, where you don't have to step on each other. So I've seen Service Bus be very effective in doing that, but you can also use Event Hubs or Kafka if you don't have that requirement for your scenario. So this is what I wanted to cover when it comes to data stores that you have to consider. There are so many scenarios to cover in this video, but think about these different categories of data stores when you are building your A2A powered and MCP powered AI agents. I want to cover the infrastructure next. So if you're familiar with Azure Functions, you're going to see that there are scenarios for HTTP triggers where if the client makes a call to the service and the service takes longer than 230 seconds to reply, everything goes goes down the drain. So in this scenario, you might want to use something like a container-based service to make sure that you can have these long-running jobs like the in my previous video, I talked about streaming, where the client makes a phone call, so to speak, to the server and stays open for a very long time until all the tasks are completed. In this scenario, it might be longer than 230 seconds. So you need to have some kind of system where you can support the ability for the service to keep a communication open between with the client for an extended period of time until everything is done. So having Azure Kubernetes Service, having Azure Container Apps, having a kind of container powered system that will allow you to do these long running operations is very, very critical. So it is not just about the protocol, but what are the infrastructure that you need to enable this to happen. We have a scenario with the model context protocol where security is very important, and we need to have the ability to identify who's making the request, who we're making the request to, what kind of privileges this client has on the server, and all those different things. Using Microsoft Entra, using Azure APIM allows you to set up these A2A endpoints and MCP endpoints in a way that is effective and you can have full control. So think about how you can leverage APIM and Microsoft Entra to implement these security systems. We also have the need to set up multiple agent-to-agent servers to handle requests. So how do we distribute the load across all these different instances of the servers? We can use load balancer, we can use traffic manager to control this effectively in production. And then I spoke about in my previous video the data quality and the data pipelines. This is very, very important. If you put in garbage into your data stores, your agents will spit out garbage. So having the right data pipeline to maintain excellent data quality that is necessary to power these MCP endpoints for these tool calling operations to work effectively, you need to have excellent data pipelines. You can use Apache Flink, you can use Azure Data Factory, you can use Azure Function Triggers to set up these effective data pipelines in production so that your data pipeline is right, the data is never out of date, it's never old, it's never irrelevant, it's always excellent quality. So making sure that you have this in place allows you to have the infrastructure that will make you run these agent services in production effectively. And then last but not the least is the AI services. We have AI Foundry that has a whole suite of language models and embedding models for you to use. So understanding what language model to use for what scenario is very, very important. This goes back to what I said earlier. The user experience is what drives the language model selection. Latency, cost, quality of performance, response time, the capacity of the language model, whether you want to use open source or proprietary or whatever combination and permutation you want to use. This is very, very important. So think about the user experience and the constraints that drive this user experience. And this is what will help you pick the right language model for the agent that you need for that scenario. Sometimes the same agent might switch the language model behind the scene based on the user experience we are intending to create for the customer. For voice-based agents, using the Azure Speech Service to transform the text into audio content or transform the audio content back to text is very, very important. So you need to understand how to use that. There are also scenarios where we have to extract information from images, from files, from documents, from spreadsheets and things like that. So understanding how to use the Azure Document Intelligence Service and the Azure Content Understanding is very, very important. There are other services beyond this. So I just wanted to cover these three categories of ingredients that I will consider relevant and necessary if you want to build effective AI agents in production. So going back to the 9 pillars, these pillars are very, very important whenever you need to build effective agents in production. Always think about the user experience. Make sure that security is part of what you're considering. Make sure that you have the right data pipelines to enable you to have high quality data for your MCP agents to work effectively. I mean, for your MCP services and servers to work effectively. Having the right tool calling strategy and the right agent collaboration strategy is very, very important. Understanding what language models to pick and making sure that the agent can remember the information that is necessary to provide the best user experience. All of these things that I'm speaking here, I'm talking about in this video, go back to the original point of creating the excellent user experience. Everything has to be centered around the user experience. Otherwise, you're not going to have a business. You're not going to have good reviews for your application. And then before we send back the content to the end user to say that we are done with the task, we have to have a subset or a small part of the application verify. Even though we trust it, we need to trust but verify what we're going to send back to the client. And if it's not right, we have another part to react and then fix it before sending it back to the client. So these are the three ingredients I wanted to cover, and they are the data store that we need. The next one is the infrastructure that we need. The third one is the AI services that we need to power this experience. Everything is about the user experience. So I hope this video was able to explain all the different things that you need to build effective AI agents in production, leveraging the agent-to-agent protocol as well as the model context protocol. Now, I speak about all these things because I'm very passionate about this topic. I'm a contributor to the A2A specification project as well as the model context protocol project. I also support the Pydantic AI project and the Fast A2A project. In the past, I worked on certain vector databases for LangChain, and I'm very excited about this space. I really hope that this video was helpful to you. If you think it was helpful, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up and share with someone you think will benefit from this type of content. If you want to hear similar content and see similar contents like this in the future, please subscribe to the channel and click on the notification icon so that when next new content like this comes up, you'll be the first to find out. I thank you very much for watching this video. Please put any comments you have as feedback. If you have something that you would like me to explain, please let me know, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you very much.